With Attack on Titan's final season coming to an end, with the rumors of a movie on the horizon as well, I've decided to put together a small curated list of anime that are like Attack on Titan that I think everyone here will enjoy. Though, to lay out some rules to curate this list, I looked at aspects that I found to be most similar or just like Attack on Titan. This could be things like a focus on a richly developed secondary cast, a focus on multiple themes like humanity versus a mysterious threat, or a story involving politics and war. Whatever the case may be, I picked them off the basis of when watching them, you'd say something like, wow, that's just like Attack on Titan. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Vinland Saga is a great anime to start this list, as not only is it produced by former Attack on Titan studio Wit Studios, it's also just like Attack on Titan in that it is set in a dark world with harsh themes and dark storytelling. In Vinland Saga, you follow Thorfinn, son of former Viking Thors, who embarks on a mission of revenge after his father is set up and killed right before his eyes by the Viking Askeladd. From there, you follow Thorfinn from childhood to his teen years as he is stuck traveling with Askeladd and his band of Vikings, vying at any chance to take revenge on his father's murderer, which is much like Aaron's motivations after his mother is killed. Though what's interesting is that along his journey, he seems to become more attached to Askeladd in some way or form as he agrees to do many of the things that Askeladd wishes him to do. In other words, Thorfinn grows to have a strange dependence on the man, with him becoming a almost father-like figure in his life. I love the themes of Stockholm Syndrome, as it's similar to that of the relationship between King Fritz and Ymir, but takes it from the approach of father-son. Plus, it also has incredible depth in the supporting cast, which is something every AOT fan adores, and vice versa for something like Vinland Saga. With characters like Knut, the legendary Thorkel, Bjorn, and even Leif Erikson, it gives color to the cast of Vinland Saga as it relies on them because Thorfinn's character is mostly static throughout the first season of Vinland Saga due to his childhood trauma and relationship with Askeladd keeping him from developing. It ends up having a very similar dynamic as AOT by having the supporting cast adds a lot of color, depth, and charm while the main story progresses around it. And with season 2 slated to hit this year and switching production studios over to, well, MAPPA, there are many reasons to jump ship over to Vinland Saga as an AOT fan. Next up on the list is 86, which may be one of the more deceptive numbers in this list because the series seemed so bright and colorful, but in reality, it's probably the anime that's actually the most similar to Attack on Titan on this list. 86 follows Vladilena Milize, who is the youngest person to be promoted to Major. Her job is to be Handler 1 of San Magnolia's elite squad of soldiers led by Shine Nozen, Spearhead Squadron. Her job is to lead soldiers into the battlefield against the mysterious and unstoppable drones known as Legion. Created by the Giadian Empire with the sole purpose of eliminating their enemies, the country was eventually felled, and thus the unending nightmare of the Legion, now using the heads of decapitated soldiers to circumvent a failsafe method and preserve their life, are unleashed in full force against the entirety of the world. Yet, Vladilena's home country of San Magnolia has no intentions of stopping the Legion, only to send those not of Alban blood or silver hair and eyes into the battlefield to be mercilessly slaughtered. Vladilena opposes this line of thought and has no choice but to fight this enemy, with what she has on hand to use her soldiers to desperately hold the line in a war against an ever-evolving autonomous force that San Magnolia seems to care nothing about. This anime has so many similarities to Attack on Titan. For example, it has a lot of focus on military tactics, much like Season 3 and Season 4 of AOT. Vladilena Milize and Shine Nozen's dynamic also often reminds me of Erwin Wright and Levi Ackerman respectfully. Shine tries his best to lead his soldiers into battle and has a deep respect for them, but is deeply scarred by survivor's guilt because no matter how hard he tries, he cannot let himself die. In that sense, his resolve to fight is much like like both Mikasa and Levi Ackerman's. For Vladilena, she's the courageous leader who knows what the best decision to make is, which is to fight the Legion, though their government of San Magnolia refuses to and instead wants to simply use the Legion as a way to wipe out what they call the Colorata. Though, don't let this girl's adorable and dopey demeanor at times fool you either. Lena very much does what must be done and gets demoted from Major when she uses artillery to save the 86 and lay waste to the Legion's forces. Speaking of the Legion, there is a hint of mysterious to them that is somewhat like the Pure Titans. They're mysterious mechs that are piloted by what is essentially the essence of a dead soldier's head. Due to this, when using their communication devices, they can hear what is, well, the voices of the dead. Random voices like synapses firing off. Some begging for death, some reverting to a disturbing childlike state. The horror of what the Legion is makes for one of the most truly terrifying foes in all of modern anime, much like how the Pure Titans are. But as I said, it's most like AOT in this list, with no doubts, as to fire off a bunch of themes that are handled similarly in 86 like AOT. You have racism, mechs being a somewhat similar concept to Titans, warring political factions, countries and nations, deep expansive world history and lore, a focus on advanced weaponry and their effectiveness against their enemies, and I think that pretty much covers at least all the major ones. This next one is Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which I think probably inspired AOT when it comes to wartime politics and strategies present throughout the series, though I don't have any confirmation Isayama was inspired by it, of course. Though I will say, you have a lot of this series to go around. Not only is there a series out right now that aims to modernize the story and more faithfully follow its source materials, but as well there is the old OVA series and its sequels that totals something like 150 to 200 episodes. So what is it about? How is it similar? The two interstellar sides of the monarch-ruled galactic empire fight the Democratic Alliance in a war for control of the Milky Way galaxy. These two sides' military is led by the tactical genius, the Empire, by Reinhard von Lochingram, and the Alliance by Yang Wen Li. Both of these characters are pretty interesting and drive a lot of the conflict and intrigue, and both also have pretty good backstories too. Reinhard's father, as a boy, sold off his sister to the dictator Kaiser Frederick IV, the ruler of the Galactic Empire, and thus vows to one day overthrow the Kaiser and free his sister from his grasp and rule the galaxy with an iron fist. Then on the other side, you have Yang Wen Li, who is someone that wants to quit the military and pursue his passion as a historian, but is forced to lead the Alliance's military as they grow more greedy, wanting more and more control, though not realizing their sheer incompetence and what these things cost. Essentially, this series, much like the Fate series, is sorta a battle of ideals, amongst other things. It's this dynamic in LOTGH that to me makes the series such a compelling watch, no matter which adaptation you're watching. Fighting over key strategic points like a giant Death Star, which, much like Sabelina, is distinctly legally named Thor's Hammer, which can annihilate entire planets and solar systems. It's this battle between both sides for what is essentially the same thing, but through different ideals that makes it most similar to AOT in that regard. The moral grays of LOTGH reaches heights and scales that sometimes, and even often, go above and beyond what AOT presents. Though I must warn that the series, while having freaking awesome action sequences in both versions, are often presented from the angle of something more tactical and methodical. Some people may find this show boring, but if you enjoyed the wartime politics of AOT's final season and Erwin's presence in season 3, and the themes of moral grayness and characters that you can't quite pigeonhole into being the good or bad guys, then this series is one you should absolutely check out, for sure. This one is more on the older side, not quite as much as LOTGH, but Monster is written by one of the most heralded mangakas of all time, Naoki Urasawa, who also wrote series like the Asteroid Boy spin-off series Pluto, and the ambitious series 20th Century Boys and its sequel 21st Century Boys, which I also recommend as well if you want to jump into these, as they don't have anime adaptations just yet. But Monster, on the other hand, does. And if you're interested in the mystery element of Attack on Titan, you need to absolutely consider this for a viewing. Monster follows the neurosurgeon Dr. Kenzo Tenma. He has it all. He's the top surgeon at his hospital, he's engaged to the director's daughter, and still, things are looking even better for him on the horizon. But one night, he is called in to perform surgery on someone, though as he's about to begin, another person comes in who is famous. Choosing the famous performer, he is applauded for his action, though after seeing the effects of his actions, experiences much grief. Later on, a similar situation happens once again. This time though, he must choose between the lives of a boy and another man. This time, Tenma chooses the boy, a son of a politician, his name being Johann Liebert. His choice to save Johann loses his position in the hospital. His fiancée leaves him, but eventually he regains his position after the mysterious murders of the doctors who took his former position. 9 years on, Johann Liebert returns as he murders people across Germany. To stop him, Kenzo Tenma takes responsibility for what he has done and hunts for clues to locate Johann and put a stop to his senseless rat race. Without a doubt, if you love the entangled threads of how characters connect in Attack on Titan and how no character is wasted, then Monster is for you. Some of my favorite characters in anime are from Monster because of how interconnected the relationships of their characters are, despite some never meeting or just some being dead. For example, I find the relationships between Tenma, Eva, and Anna so interesting because these three characters are pretty much key figures to every other side or supporting character in the series. Then when you add the mystery elements of Monster into the mix, you have two great elements from AOT that are present in Monster. I won't speak much on the mystery parts of the series, but actually, I also wouldn't be surprised if Isayama himself was inspired by the writings of Naoko Urasawa from a DNA standpoint. He's one of, if not the most important mangaka ever, but a lot of his stylings and techniques he uses reminds me so much of Attack on Titan that I feel like we shouldn't just stop with Monster, but as well recommend Urasawa's other works, despite them not having adaptations. So if you're interested, please check out Monster and its manga. Then you have 20th Century Boys and its sequel, 21st Century Boys, and of course Pluto. These three works from Urasawa are all unique in their own ways, but as well are perfect for the people who love how deep and expansive AOT is, especially if you enjoy things like time skips, as most of his series usually takes place over years and not days or months, sometimes even multiple decades. For those anime that didn't make the list though, I decided to ask my community what anime they thought would be the most similar to AOT. So here are a couple more picks from them. Owari no Seraph and Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress seem to be clones of AOT, as multiple people have mentioned, and both of these anime are also made by Wit Studios, which means, well, I guess they were kind of on the nose, weren't they? Knights of Sidonia was another choice, which I think is a pretty apt comparison, though I think as well people mentioning the Promised Neverland's manga as a fantastic choice here, as both anime have a strong presence of mystery. Still, sadly, it may never get an adaptation. Sad face Emma. Others as well mentioned shonen series like One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, cannot wait for season 2, expect videos on that, and of course Demon Slayers, something everyone here is aware that I adore. So I'll let you guys decide though in the comments below what other anime you think fit here and if these three right here compare. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with in the comments below. And before we get into our number 1 spot, I want to remind you all that at 1,500 Twitter followers, I'll be holding a huge Attack on Titan giveaway, the biggest giveaway I have ever done. The great news here is that we're around 250 followers away from hitting our goal, so please follow me at CTacticsYT. Thank you for following. So, what is my number 1 spot? The cold and silent nights of Fuyuki City are home to the 4th Holy Grail War, which, in it, their participants become masters to heroes of mythos and historical figures long past as their servants. There, they fight for one wish from the Holy Grail, but to win, they must eliminate all servants until only one stands. This is Fate's Stay Night, a battle of more than just wits and strength. It's a battle of ideals and oneself. You don't need me to tell you you why Fate Stay Night is on this list and why it's such a fantastic fit for fans of Attack on Titan's more idealistic approach to character development and storytelling. On top of this, it also has a strong focus on animation, being produced by the world-famous ufotable. And yes, that is the way that I pronounce it. Fate Zero, Unlimited Blade Works, and Heaven's Feel, while being 3 separate anime with their unique approach to the story of Fate, all offer something that Attack on Titan has beyond the battle of ideals. Fate Zero features a rich cast that implements many plot devices that would go on to be used in its sequels, series, and sequel films. It also shows the main characters of those series as children, giving the sense that the world of Fate is living and breathing with characters that you're familiar with, but as well get to see in a new light. Unlimited Blade Works has a more action approach to its series with a focus on scale, budget, and style, which is a similar approach to AOT with things like the Scout's movement gear as an example. Then you have Heaven's Feel, which is one of the darkest in the series, being strongly linked to Fate Zero. Some outcomes for characters being grim, brutal, or simply sad. This sequel is very much for you if you want a little bit of everything with enough variety and charm to carry you through what is a massive and legendary franchise. If you enjoyed this video, I made a special playlist of all the videos I've made on this anime mentioned right here. I'll see you guys there.